You have seen players in our league try to like toughen up Caitlin. I know the talks that Phoenix had in the locker room of like, no, we're going to prove her, we're going to show her what the W really is. I'm like, what are people doing? It's just too much. No, there's really good, well-known people in our league. I'm not discrediting them. Like, we have a lot of badasses in our league.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah to that. I'm all for that. But when people try to argue that she's not the face of our league, or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as
Yeah.
You're literally dumb.
This is war. That's not clickbait. That's exactly what Sophie Cunningham said after watching the WNBA try to tear down Caitlin Clark. She's done staying quiet. She's done watching jealous players and bitter vets take cheap shots at the one person actually saving the league. And on the very first episode of her new podcast, she didn't just defend Caitlin Clark. She went scorched earth on the entire WNBA.
Finally, someone who gets it. Finally, someone in the WNBA who understands this thing called business. I know this is a foreign concept. I know this is difficult for WNBA players to understand. I know they feel like they're entitled to be overpaid. I know they feel like they are owed a paycheck, but the WNBA does not exist to lift you out of poverty. David Stern did not create the WNBA to give women opportunities.
If you're sick of the Caitlin Clark hate, comment "We stand with Caitlin" right now, because Sophie's message was loud, raw, and impossible to ignore. Sophie Cunningham didn't tiptoe around the issue. She took a flamethrower to it. In her podcast debut with Colin Cowherd's media network, The Volume, Sophie called out what fans have been whispering for months, that there's a civil war inside the WNBA. A war driven by jealousy, politics, and old-school resentment. And at the center of it all is Caitlin Clark.
You have seen players in our league try to like toughen up Caitlin. I know the talks that Phoenix had in the locker room of like, no, we're going to prove her, we're going to show her what the W really is. I'm like, what are people doing? It's just too much.
Now let's be clear, Sophie isn't just Clark's teammate. She's her bodyguard on the court, her ride or die. And when the media tried to act like Clark's rise was just a PR stunt, Sophie exploded. She called out the media's hypocrisy. She called out the players plotting to humble Caitlin. And most of all, she called out the league for refusing to protect the very star that's keeping it alive.
Today, Sophie. If they didn't like you then, they sure aren't going to like you now. Sophie Cunningham has been making waves with the new podcast that she is now featured in, courtesy of The Volume. Sophie Cunningham letting it all out and not holding back one bit.
Let's break down exactly what Sophie said and why it has the entire WNBA on edge. First, Sophie addressed the biggest lie going around, that Caitlin Clark isn't the face of the league. Her words: "If you think Caitlin Clark isn't the face of the WNBA, you're dumb."
Why bully the person who is like not 100% responsible, but like has a huge role in growing your sport?
Dude, and it literally like pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What? No, there's really good, well-known people in our league. I'm not discrediting them. Like, we have a lot of badasses in our league.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah to that. I'm all for that. But when people try to argue that she's not the face of our league, or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as
Yeah.
You're literally dumb.
That's not opinion. That's scoreboard. Before Clark entered the league, top WNBA games barely cracked 500,000 viewers. With Clark, try over 2 million regularly. Her games outdraw NHL playoff games, MLB broadcasts, sometimes even NBA matchups. And it's not just TV, it's ticket sales. The Indiana Fever now sell out every game. Even road teams are moving matchups into NBA arenas just to meet demand.
She has surpassed everybody in the amount of time that she has played in the WNBA. She fills up every arena in every town that she goes to. Teams have to go to bigger arenas so that they can try to profit off the Caitlin Clark train coming to town. Then she gets drafted to the Fever, and what she has done for this city and for this team is unbelievable. Obviously, last year at the beginning of the season, nobody wanted to believe, okay?
They still don't.
There's a lot of people that still think there's a lot of other. She is the one. Okay, and it pisses off everybody whenever we say it, and then obviously it becomes a whole thing because we're a bunch of doofuses and things like that. But like, this is the golden goose. This is the one. This is the generational, multi-generational player. And we're incredibly lucky that she's in Indianapolis.
And don't forget, her jersey outsold every NBA and NFL player within hours of being drafted. Sophie wasn't being disrespectful, she was being honest. Clark isn't just a player, she's a movement. But when someone tried to say, maybe Sabrina Ionescu was the real face of the WNBA, Sophie didn't hesitate. No, she said, not out of hate, out of truth.
Who would be?
What?
Sabrina? No.
No, there's really good, well-known people in our league. I'm not discrediting them. Like, we have a lot of badasses in our league.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah to that. I'm all for that. But when people try to argue that she's not the face of our league,
Yeah.
or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as shit.
Because Sabrina's a great player, but she doesn't move numbers like Clark. She doesn't move culture like Clark. And yet, instead of embracing that, the league keeps resisting it. Why? Because behind the scenes, there's a growing resentment.
But that's just not how capitalism works. The WNBA was created for one reason and one reason only: make money, which is something this unmonetizable turd has failed to achieve in the last 30 years. To make matters worse, when they finally had the opportunity to turn a profit, when they finally had the opportunity to shift from pesos to dollars, when they stumble upon the golden goose, the cash cow, instead of milking the money out of the cash cow, jealous WNBA players, they try to butcher it. Someone please make it make sense.
Sophie admitted what no one else would say out loud, that some teams have made it their mission to humble Caitlin Clark. She said Phoenix's locker room literally had meetings about showing her what the W is. And yes, rookies always get tested, but this is different. This is targeted. This is personal.
You have seen players in our league try to like toughen up Caitlin. I know the talks that Phoenix had in the locker room of like, no, we're going to prove her, we're going to show her what the W really is. I'm like, what are people doing? It's just too much.
It's not about making Clark tougher. It's about knocking her down, because some veterans see her rise not as an opportunity, but as a threat. They see her 500,000 followers, her chartered flights, her security detail, her fans taking over every arena in the country, and deep down, they're angry that it wasn't them. So instead of protecting her, they punish her. Instead of lifting her up, they try to tear her down. Sophie took aim at the double standard that's been poisoning the WNBA. LeBron was the face of the NBA. No one questioned it. Tom Brady, the NFL, Tiger Woods, golf, Michael Jordan, basketball history. No one had a problem with male athletes being crowned the face of their sport. But Caitlin Clark, suddenly, it's a controversy. Sophie said what everyone's thinking. This isn't about Clark's game. It's about resentment. It's about identity. And yes, some critics have made it about race. They say Caitlin only gets attention because she's white or because she fits a certain image.
And I don't understand why women on The View and all these other places are trying to act like it's about racism. They're trying to act like it's somehow virtuous that women are degrading and trying to eliminate Caitlin Clark in the WNBA. Let's keep it real. Put the color aside. The girl can just play ball.
Couldn't it just be that Caitlin Clark is like one of the most talented
She is
women
talented.
basketball
There's
players
no
in
question
the history of the country? She comes on, she does amazing things, and then people say people say all of a sudden I'm now interested in something I wasn't before. Look at the attendance, look at the viewership, and then they watch the games, and she's constantly being abused. She was stabbed in the eye last night.
Caitlin Clark is box office. She's doing this. And instead of giving her credit, y'all tried to make it about, oh, y'all poo-pooing the old guard.
But Sophie and millions of fans see something else entirely. They see the logo threes, the court vision, the insane passing, the electricity. They see someone who makes every game feel like an event. And they're not wrong, because even when Clark isn't playing, her effect is massive. Just look at what happened with DeWanna Bonner. When Bonner returned to Indiana after a messy exit from the Fever, the crowd booed her off the court. It wasn't polite. It wasn't respectful. It was raw fan energy.
You can hear the crowd booing DeWanna Bonner. It could be one of those nights.
And how did other players respond? They shamed the fans, called them classless, told them to be quiet.
You know what? Just like
Sorry,
Kinda
not to
wild.
interrupt you. You know what is kind of surprising and disappointing, honestly? It is getting so toxic, I feel like, in our league with a lot of the fans going back and forth. Like, basketball and sports are supposed to be so unifying, and it is so toxic. Like, every game, just, it's like hatred out there towards other players, and not just, you know, like Angel and Caitlin. Like, they are the OGs where people will get so like polarizing with, but it's with everyone, and people are just so nasty on there. And it's like, we're playing a game. We are playing a game, and you are saying hateful things about players. Like, I don't know. That has been like really surprising. I feel like we're trending in a really bad spot with that.
But Sophie's message was clear. You can't ask fans to pay top dollar, fill arenas, and scream for their favorite players, and then scold them for having passion. That's not how big-time sports works. And that's what the old guard doesn't understand. Caitlin Clark brought real fans, real emotions, real stakes, and Sophie. She's one of the only players in the league fighting to protect it. At just 22 years old, Caitlin Clark carries the weight of an entire league. Every game, every headline, every shove and flagrant foul. And through it all, she stays calm, focused, composed. But behind her is Sophie. On the court, she's throwing elbows and setting hard screens. Off the court, she's throwing verbal punches and exposing league politics. Because Sophie understands the truth no one wants to face. This isn't just about one player, it's about the future of the WNBA. Without Clark, those TV deals vanish. The charter flights disappear. The sold-out arenas go back to empty seats. Sophie's defense isn't just about friendship or loyalty. It's about saving a revolution before it gets destroyed from the inside. If you're still watching, drop "We Stand with Caitlin" in the comments. Because this isn't just about basketball anymore. This is war.
You have seen players in our league try to like toughen up Caitlin. I know the talks that Phoenix had in the locker room of like, no, we're going to prove her, we're going to show her what the W really is. I'm like, what are people doing? It's just too much.
Finally, someone who gets it. Finally, someone in the WNBA who understands this thing called business.
So, if you think the Fever president crossed the line, drop a "fire her" in the comments right now. Your game and let's see how many fans are done with the fake support. Because what Sophie said wasn't just savage, it was a firing shot.
Today, Sophie. If they didn't like you then, they sure aren't going to like you now. Sophie Cunningham has been making waves with the new podcast that she is now featured in, courtesy of The Volume. Sophie Cunningham letting it all out and not holding back one bit.
And now, the Fever president may never recover. Everyone knew something was coming. The disrespect Caitlin Clark had been getting all season had reached a boiling point. From the cheap shots to the cold shoulders, it was no longer just tough rookie treatment, it was personal. But Sophie Cunningham, she'd had enough.
It just feels like people are jealous of this new little wave of
They are,
rookies.
but I just hate that because like, this is what we've always wanted as a league. So like, who cares who gets the credit? And if you're smart, you're making money off of them.
Yeah.
Like you are literally making money from the viewership.
And what she made the chirp was about how she didn't help plan the fucking
Who cares?
shirts.
Like, who
Yeah.
cares? You know what I mean? Like, I just hate when like people do stuff to get, it's like clickbait.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and there's so much clickbait, especially surrounding Caitlin. And so like, it's just like, just be nice. Like, why
Yeah.
can't people just be nice?
Yeah.
That's what I don't, coming from the girl who
I was just saying we just talked
drugs
for 2
someone
hours about how
down.
you fucking beat someone up.
Just be nice. It's not that hard.
I agree.
Damn it.
In an interview that instantly went viral, Sophie didn't hold back. It literally pisses me off when people say she's not the face of the league. She said, "You're dumb. You're literally dumb." She said what every Caitlin Clark fan had been screaming for months.
Why bully the person who is like not 100% responsible, but like has a huge role in growing your sport?
Dude, and it literally like pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What? No, there's really good, well-known people in our league. I'm not discrediting them. Like, we have a lot of badasses in our league.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah to that. I'm all for that. But when people try to argue that she's not the face of our league,
Yeah.
or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as shit.
Yeah.
You're literally dumb.
And then she took it further. Sophie admitted it out loud. Players across the league were plotting to bring Clark down. In Phoenix, before Sophie even joined the Fever, she heard it in the locker rooms. We're gonna show her what the W really is.
Phoenix had in the locker room of like, no, we're gonna prove her, we're gonna show her what the W really is.
This wasn't basketball anymore. It was a hit job. And Sophie Cunningham decided she wasn't going to sit quietly and let it happen. The signs were everywhere. Clark getting hard fouled every game, teammates keeping their distance, executives staying silent. But
there was like 45 seconds left. The girl stole the ball and I was running back and I was like, we're up. I don't need to foul. And I was like, just let her go. And I was like, all right, like, who cares? Last second, intrusive thoughts. I was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
And I like, at first I just tried to like hold her and like put her, like grab her.
Like,
just let me explain.
Sorry.
I know what it looked like. I got her, but at the very end, and I'm not saying this is what caused it, but she dipped a little bit.
Yeah.
Like but she did dip. And then right when I was like, oh shit, like my bad. Not really my bad. And then they both came at me. I was like, fuck it, come.
that single act sent a ripple through the Fever locker room. A team that had struggled with chemistry suddenly looked unified. They weren't just playing basketball anymore, they were defending a teammate, and it showed. Sophie didn't just throw her body into the fight, she threw herself into the firestorm. And it paid off. Overnight, Sophie gained over 1 million new followers. Fan edits poured in. Clips of her went viral across TikTok and Instagram with captions like "Clark's Enforcer" and "Protect the Queen."
So I feel like it was just a buildup of things. There was a lot of stuff. Tensions were high. That was the moment for Sophie to commit a hard foul, and she did that. And most of the world agreed with her. Most of the world was fed up with everything that was going on the court. They're fed up with the refs. They're fed up with the physicality getting to a point where players can get injured. And a lot of people were like, you know what? Finally, there's an enforcer on the court. People were calling her a hero, and her jersey completely sold out overnight. And this was something that I predicted.
Clout chasing in public.
On paper, she's kind of pedestrian. 7 points, 3 rebounds. On paper, Sophie Cunningham is a role player. But because she accepted the role as the enforcer, because she accepted the role as the protector of Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham has become a star.
Same Fever execs who praised Caitlin Clark for her branding, her audience, her ticket sales. Those same people were nowhere to be found when Clark was being attacked night after night. Sophie called it what it was. They're profiting off her fame, but they're not protecting her. And fans saw it too. The Fever president's Twitter account? Deactivated. She just laughed. I don't even have a leash. Just a collar with a hand on it.
Sassy, but like, so are they.
Your leash is shorter though, because they know.
Literally, I don't even have a leash. I just have a freaking collar and a hand on it.
Sophie Cunningham didn't just roast a few bad refs or jealous players. She obliterated the entire culture that let this happen to Caitlin Clark in the first place. She called out the WNBA's obsession with clicks and headlines, while ignoring the human being at the center of it all. Why bully the person who's helped grow your sport? She didn't need a PR team. She didn't need league approval. She just stood up and spoke the truth. And for the first time, the league had to listen. Media outlets were forced to cover the targeting of Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fever president didn't issue a statement. She didn't stand with her player. She just vanished. And Sophie Cunningham, she stood in the spotlight and told the world, if you come for Caitlin, you come through me. Your biggest star is being bullied. You can't grow a league while letting executives throw players under the bus to protect their image. And you can't stop a movement once it's already started. Sophie didn't just defend Caitlin Clark. She drew a line in the sand. This wasn't just a game. This wasn't just drama. This was war. And Sophie Cunningham just fired the first shot. If you stand with Caitlin Clark, if you believe Sophie did the right thing, if you're done watching this league ignore its own superstar, drop a 100% in the comments right now and let the world know you ride with Caitlin and with the teammate who finally said what needed to be said.
It looked like Sophie Cunningham is making it her business to make noise on the internet. Guys, we have already had. That's all I'm going to say. What a damn day we have had so far with Sophie Cunningham. She is standing on business. She's trending everywhere, and now she's retweeting all the drama. Sophie has simply made herself a star, which she was already famous, but at this point, she hella famous, super famous.
The WNBA just fined Sophie Cunningham again, but instead of shutting her down, they made her a millionaire. This wasn't just a punishment, it was a payday. twice.
Man, I thought we could have a little fun right before the game starts. We have Sophie Cunningham getting fined $500, man, for making this slick TikTok about the refs. Yo, it is hilarious. We are about to get all the way into it, man.
So how did a couple of petty fines turn a role player into one of the most marketable names in women's basketball?
And Sophie Cunningham gets fined $500, $500 by Kathy Angle Braindead and the WNBA for speaking out against officiating on TikTok.
Let's rewind to the first time. The WNBA made this exact mistake. It was supposed to be a lesson, but instead it became the launch pad for one of the biggest blow-ups in league history. During a heated game against the Dallas Wings, she bodied J.C. Sheldon, trash-talked her like a seasoned veteran, and got herself ejected.
Well, we know somebody that has gotten ridiculously popular this year with the Indiana Fever. I made a prediction that she was going to be the second most popular player on this team by the end of the year. And then, of course, there was the big incident during the Connecticut Sun game. And by the end of that game, she was known as Caitlin Clark's enforcer, right? The one that's got her back. At times, it feels like the only one that's got her back, if I'm being quite honest.
The league fined her $400. But what happened next was something no one saw coming. Within 24 hours, Sophie's jersey sold out. Her TikTok following exploded. She jumped from around 300,000 to over 1 million followers. One brand deal after another came knocking, and fans rallied around her. Because
that was the moment for Sophie to commit a hard foul, and she did that. And most of the world agreed. Fed up with the refs. They're fed up with the physicality getting to a point where players can get injured. And a lot of people were like, you know what? Finally, there's an enforcer on the court. People were calling her a hero, and her jersey completely sold out overnight. And this was something that I predicted.
that $400 fine, it made Sophie Cunningham the most valuable role player in the WNBA. She didn't ask for the spotlight. The league handed it to her, gift wrapped in controversy.
What's her TikTok on now? This has been 3 hours. So in 3 hours, she's getting 7,000 Instagram followers. Sophie Cunningham. Oh my God. She's on 850,000 followers. It's been 3 hours. She's gonna gain she's gonna be on 1 million followers. She was on 307,000 followers. She's now at the 7.9 million likes on TikTok. Her last TikTok that she posted got, I don't know, her pinned one, 6.7 million views. 100,000 TikTok followers.
You'd think the WNBA would have learned their lesson, right? Fast forward just a few weeks. Sophie's in the middle of another viral storm, but this time it starts with her getting elbowed in the head by Connecticut's Olivia Nelson-Ododa.
Clark on that possession.
No whistle, no foul. Refs said she flopped. Then she's grabbed around the neck during a loose ball scramble against the Sparks. Still no call. It was the same pattern that made her famous in the first place. Cunningham getting roughed up while the refs looked the other way. So she did what anyone with a phone and a massive platform would do. She clapped back. She posted a TikTok mocking the referees with the words stupid, or is it slow? Maybe it's useless.
Or is it slow?
The video racked up over 1.3 million views. Fans flooded the comments with support because Sophie was saying what everyone else was thinking. She was bold, she was loud, and once again, she was punished for it. On July 23rd, the WNBA fined her again. This time, $500 for that viral TikTok.
I got fined $500 for this TikTok. I don't know why this is funny to me. Like, okay, you got it, bud. Because there's not more important things to be worried about with our league right now. Hey, she has a point, man. They have the CBA talks going on. We know what's going on with that. That is showing a lot of the fact that they actually took time to find her TikTok and say, hey, you know what? We're going to fine you $500 for that. That is crazy, man. That is crazy.
But Sophie's reaction? She laughed. She literally posted a follow-up saying, "I got fined $500 for this TikTok. I don't know why this is funny to me." Because she already knew what was about to happen. Another fine, another viral moment, another $1 million marketing campaign handed to her by the league. Within days, she gained another 700,000 followers. New brand deals flooded in. Experts estimated that TikTok alone added over $1 million in brand value. That means Sophie has paid a grand total of $900 in fines and walked away with multiple millions in return. Let that sink in. That's not a punishment. That's the best investment return in sports history. And here's what makes it even crazier. Sophie's not even hiding it. In her own words, it's cool. It's funny what people are kind of attracted to. She knows she's winning, and she's letting the world watch. But the real story here isn't just about Sophie Cunningham. It's about the WNBA making the same mistake over and over again instead of addressing the real problem, which is the inconsistency of the referees. The league keeps treating Sophie like she's the issue. Let's be clear, even WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert with every fine they issue. At this point, Sophie doesn't need to fight for attention. The WNBA is delivering it to her on a silver platter. And she's not just getting attention, she's building a brand. She's now one of the most recognized faces in women's basketball. Not because of her stat line, not because she's the leading scorer, but because the league tried to silence her and accidentally made her a millionaire. She protects her teammates, she speaks her mind, and fans can see the authenticity. In every single TikTok, she doesn't chase drama, she responds to it. And that's why this works. She's not pretending to be a superstar. She's not trying to play nice with the league. She's just being Sophie. And every time the WNBA finds her, they prove her point. They're not protecting players. They're protecting their image. And Sophie is blowing that image wide open. So now the question is, should more players follow Sophie's lead and speak out, even if it means getting fined? Because if the league's not going to protect you, maybe going viral is the only way to be heard. If you're still watching, drop millionaire move in the comments. And don't forget, sometimes the best revenge is just letting your bank account do the talking.